Welcome to the San Gorgonio Chapter Trail Talk series. My name is John St. Clair, and I am the Zoom host of the Trail Talk series and also one of the committee members. And Carla Kellums is another committee member. And in a little bit, she'll be introducing me because tonight I am also the speaker as well as the Zoom host. But before we get started, I want to go over the guidelines. We want everybody to be muted except for me and Carla. And if you have questions that you want to ask me, come up in your head, what you need to do is click on the little chat icon, looks like a talking bubble, um, and put your question in the chat and address it to everyone, which is the default. And then Carla's going to keep track of those questions while I'm talking. And if she thinks there's a pertinent question that should be answered before I go on, she'll tell me to stop. Otherwise, I'll answer all questions at the end. But be assured, all of your questions will be eventually answered. So tonight's topic is hiking in the Cucamonga Wilderness. And the Cucamonga Wilderness is my stomping grounds for hiking. I have probably hiked in the Cucamonga Wilderness over 400 times in the last 35, 36 years. So I spent a lot of time hiking in the Cucamonga Wilderness, and it's one of my favorite places to hike. And I'm really excited about sharing information about it. Now, originally, when I signed up to do this, I was hoping I could really point you to our events and outings on the chapter website and say that I would have a bunch of conditioning hikes. Unfortunately, I've had some health problems and I haven't scheduled anything for April yet. I hope by the end of April I will be hiking again and have some hikes up. And they're going to start out really easy because I haven't hiked in over 4 weeks, so I'm way out of shape. So I'll be starting easy and slowly building up to get ready for the peaks in the Cucamonga Wilderness, which are fairly high elevation, and it takes some work, some conditioning to be able to do those hikes. Now, normally, um, we still have snow in the mountains, but with the heat wave we've had, most of the snow, except on the north slope, most of the snow has melted, and it's actually possible to start hiking up at higher altitudes than at an earlier time than usual. Now, who knows what the weather's going to bring? It's been really crazy, and maybe we'll get another winter storm that comes in April. Who knows? But I don't lead hikes when there's snow or ice on the trail. It's not safe. And even with equipment, I don't do it. So if the trails remain clear, we probably could start hiking in April for sure. And then May and June and July and August and September and October until we get the first snow, maybe in November. So at this point, I'm going to add Carla, and she can introduce me.
Okay, thank you, John. Well, we're super excited to have you give our presentation today. As John Sinclair said, he's got like 35 years or something hiking all the trails up in the Cucamonga Wilderness. Um, and he's going to show some really excellent photos of flora and fauna and lots of summits. Um, Also being an experienced hike, in addition to being an experienced hiker, John is also a Sierra Club Outings leader and the Los Serranos Group Outings chair. He's also the co-chair of the San Gorgonio Chapter Trail Talk Committee, which we're involved with this program. And he's also on the leadership team for the leadership training course. He's the committee chair for that. So a lot of hats that you wear, John. But we're super excited because John's going to take us to some of the highest peaks in the Cucamonga Wilderness, including Telegraph Peak, Cucamonga Peak, and Ontario Peak. And some of those peaks are as high as 8,300 feet. So that's going to be exciting. I think John's one of our top peak baggers in this area. So, and also I think you're going to tell us also about a patch program that you've had in the past. I don't know if that's still going on, but that might be exciting to hear about. So, John, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Carla. Well, first of all, the patch program is in effect, and I will explain that as we get into this. So what I need to do now is I need to share. Um, ooh, okay. Okay, I need to move this. Okay, so I think that Carla, is my slideshow the first slide showing?
Yes, but I think you need to put it on slideshow because we're still seeing your
Yeah,
background.
I had to
There
push
you
play.
go.
Okay, so I saw in the chat somebody said, "What are the boundaries of Cucamonga Wilderness?" Well, guess what? My very first slide is a map which shows the boundaries. And I've got to tell you, I spent probably 5 or 6 hours researching the boundaries of the Cucamonga Wilderness because there were conflicting reports. In fact, this map, which I is Exhibit A, Cucamonga Wilderness from the Forest Service, has mistakes that are glaring. Um, so the Cucamonga Wilderness is outlined with a fairly thick purple line, and it's yellow, kind of a greenish yellow, but mostly yellow inside. And you will notice that on the east side, the lines are very straight. And on the west side, it kind of looks like Norway. I mean, it's not a straight line at all. It curves in and out and all over the place. Now, the one glaring thing about this that is false is there is a green line that goes through the Cucamonga Wilderness, and it is labeled San Gabriel Mountains National Monument. That is false. And I'm going to show you a Forest Service map of the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument. And the eastern boundary of that does not go into the Cucamonga Wilderness at all. It mostly follows Mount Baldy Road. So, Mount Baldy Road is a black line on the west that goes through Mount Baldy Village, and then it curves a little bit to the east, northeast, goes up to Icehouse Canyon and splits. And then if you don't turn into Icehouse Canyon parking lot, you go on up to Manker Flat, which is in red, and you can park there. The San Antonio Falls trailhead is marked on the map, and that's also probably the most popular place to start the Mount Baldy hike is from that trailhead, which you see is outside of the Cucamonga Wilderness. So Mount Baldy is not in the Cucamonga Wilderness at all, and neither is the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument, despite what this map shows. Um, so there are three main trailheads used to access the Cucamonga Wilderness. Let's start on the east side with the straight lines, and that would be from Lytle Creek. So um, if you go up the 15 and turn off at the turnoff that says Sierra Avenue for Fontana and Lytle Creek Road for Lytle Creek. So you go to the left and you go to Lytle Creek, you go to the right, you go to Fontana on Sierra Avenue. And that road takes you up to, well, there's actually two trailheads that show here. One in the southern part, it says Joe Elliott Cucamonga Peak TH. TH is trailhead. It's in red letters outside of the Cucamonga Wilderness. I've been on that trail. It's a beautiful hike. Uh, the road to get to the trailhead is brutal. It was an hour and a half drive on a poorly maintained dirt road, and the person who drove that day swore he would never drive on that road again in his life. So we got to the trailhead, had a great hike, but his car got all scratched up. He had enough clearance, but it was pretty much overgrown by bushes, buckthorn bushes over the last part of it, and it really scratched up his car. But that's one trailhead that will take you into the Cucamonga Wilderness, and we'll take you to Cucamonga Peak. When I did that hike, I didn't go to Cucamonga Peak. We went to Etowanda Peak, which you get to before you get to Cucamonga Peak. Now, going north on the map, you'll see in red letters again, Middle Fork TH. That's the Middle Fork trailhead. It has a shorter dirt road. It's only 4 miles. It's not encroached by bushes, but you really need a high clearance vehicle because it's got a lot of ruts and erosion, and so you need a high clearance vehicle to get to the parking lot. There is a restroom there, and that's a great trail. Been on that a number of times, and one time I took the hike from there up to Timber Mountain, which is in the Cucamonga Wilderness. The thing about that trailhead is it's longer. It's a 5 mile, it's longer and it's more elevation gain. You're starting at a lower elevation than you are at Icehouse Canyon. And it's a 5 mile hike to get up to the Icehouse Saddle. Whereas if you start at the Icehouse Canyon trailhead, it's a 3.6 mile hike. So it's an extra 1.4 miles and probably an extra 1,000 feet elevation gain. So it is a strenuous hike, but it's a beautiful hike, and I have some great pictures from that hike. So that's one place you get into the wilderness is from Lytle Creek. Now, the one of the most popular ways from the Icehouse Canyon trailhead, and if you see the word Icehouse trailhead is outside of the Cucamonga Wilderness. That's because the first 1.8 miles of the Icehouse Canyon Trail is not in the wilderness. And after 1.8 miles, you come to a sign saying, "Welcome to the Cucamonga Wilderness." That indentation there, where Icehouse Canyon goes into the Cucamonga Wilderness, not within the wilderness for a while, and then finally joining. Um, Pay close attention to that because you're going to see in other maps there are pieces that kind of fit into that indentation. Now, over on the left, there is a dotted line that is pretty darn straight. That's the LA County, San Bernardino County line, and it goes right through Mount Baldy Village. Part of Mount Baldy Village is in San Bernardino County, and part of Mount Baldy Village is in Los Angeles County. Now, that causes some confusion when calling for help. Uh, and also, the Cucamonga Wilderness suffers from the same kind of thing because part of Cucamonga Wilderness is in the Angeles National Forest and part is in the San Bernardino National Forest, which makes the Cucamonga Wilderness kind of a stepchild. So it doesn't get the services that like the San Gorgonio Wilderness gets. There's a very strong San Gorgonio Wilderness Association, strong support group that provides volunteers for trail repair and monitoring the trails. Uh, that doesn't happen in the Cucamonga Wilderness. Okay, then the third place In fact, that the third place is where we're going to start. Um, is if you take Mount Baldy Road past Icehouse Canyon and continue going up to Manker Flat or even to the very end of Mount Baldy Road and walk up the ski lift parking lot to take a shortcut, um, you take the service road that goes to the Mount Baldy Lodge, not lodge, the Notch restaurant at the top of the main ski lift. There's a service road that goes up there. Very nice, level, um, steady incline, not too steep hike up there. It's about 3.5 miles. And then from there, you can do either Thunder or Telegraph Peak. Uh, and it makes it much shorter and easier than going from Icehouse Canyon to get over to there. Okay, so enough for the map. Here's a little information. Congress designated the Cucamonga Wilderness in 1964. About one-third of the 13,007 acres lie in the Angeles National Forest, while the remaining acres are administered by the San Bernardino National Forest. The Cucamonga Wilderness lies totally within the San Bernardino County. Now, I actually found some websites that said part of the wilderness was in LA County, but looking at the map, that's absolutely impossible. That straight line between the two counties goes nowhere near the Cucamonga Wilderness. And I'm guessing less than one-third of the acres lie in Angeles National Forest, and most of it is in the southern part where there are no trails. Now, on the Angeles National Forest managed area of Cucamonga Wilderness, group sizes are limited to 25 people. I got this straight from the Forest Service website. And wilderness permits are encouraged but are strictly voluntary. Dispersed camping is allowed, but campsites, stoves, and pack must be more than 100 feet from streams or trails. The rules are different for the San Bernardino National Forest administered portion of the wilderness. Group sizes are limited to 12 people, while wilderness permits are mandatory. Camping is limited to 2 established campsites. You can't park or camp anywhere you want to. So very different rules. But from what I see from the maps, most of the trails I'm talking about are in the San Bernardino National Forest, not the Angeles National Forest. Okay, vegetation. This wilderness consists of a subalpine setting, which is primarily composed of mixed conifers ranging in age class such as ponderosa, Jeffrey, Douglas fir pines, as well as incense, cedar, oak, maple, and sycamore. Wildlife. Numerous wildlife species do well in the area, including deer, bear, mountain lions, and Nelson bighorn sheep. There are a surprisingly small amount of birds in the Cucamonga Wilderness. There are some, but it tends to be seasonal, and there just really aren't as many as you would think. Okay, here's the San Gabriel National Monument. Notice on the east side it has that puzzle piece that can fit into that weird shape that the Cucamonga Wilderness had. So I wanted to show that. And it clearly does not go into the Cucamonga Wilderness. That straight green line that was in that first map that said it was the boundary for the National Monument is not. The straight line goes straight north, and after that, it's not straight. It kind of wiggles around. So I would assume that this is the correct map. Okay, Angeles National Forest. Oops. Okay, yeah. So it has a smaller little piece on the east side. And so part of it's hard to tell what is actually in the Cucamonga Wilderness that's Angeles National Forest. The Forest Service website said one-third of the acres, but I think it's less. Here's the LA San Bernardino County line. As you can see, it's straight as an arrow. It goes through Mount Baldy Village, and then Mount Baldy Road goes off to the right to go to Icehouse Canyon and to the ski lifts, whereas the county line just continues going mostly north, a little bit east, but mostly north. Okay, so oh, I'm going to start with the Lytle Creek trailheads to the Cucamonga Wilderness. Is that really what I'm doing? Yeah. Okay. Um, Basically, I'm going to focus on the Middle Fork Trail. The Joe Elliott Tree Memorial says temporarily closed. Um, Even if it wasn't closed, I don't think anybody would want to drive there on that dirt road. Middle Fork Trail is open, and so you drive on Lytle Creek Road. You go through the little community of Scotland, and just as you're beginning to get to Lytle Creek, you hang a left and you go a short way on a paved road, and then it turns into a dirt road for 4 miles. You can see the blue line stops, and then there's a blank area. That's the dirt road that isn't maintained real well. Got to have high clearance. Okay, here's another map. So it's a 10-mile round trip and 3,600 feet elevation gain to Icehouse Saddle. 6 miles round trip and 1,500 elevation gain to the pristine waterfall without a name, which I'm going to show you. So the Middle Fork Trail um, goes past what they call stream crossings. There's first crossing, second crossing, third crossing. And at the third crossing, there's no sign, but if you know where you're going, if you're with a leader like me who knows where he's going, it's not on a map, but you leave the Middle Fork Trail and you go off to the left, and you end up seeing a beautiful waterfall. Now, if you stay on the Middle Fork Trail, eventually it takes you through the Comanche campground and to Icehouse Saddle, and you see Timber Mountain. I did that once, went all the way to Timber Mountain. Okay, here's that pristine waterfall. And it's not on the map. It has a little pool at the bottom, very steep rock cliffs around all the side. You have to uh, follow a little stream that comes out of this waterfall up a very narrow canyon. You cross the stream several times, but there's not a whole lot of water in it, unless it's a really heavy snow year or you go right after a heavy rain. I've never had any problems. It's just really beautiful. This gives you an idea of how big the pool of water is. You can see the person there taking a photo. Okay, this map shows the northwestern part of the Cucamonga Wilderness, which includes the beginning of the Icehouse Canyon Trail, as well as Thunder Mountain and Telegraph Peak. So if you go past the Icehouse Canyon Trailhead and stay on Mount Baldy Road and go up to the San Antonio Falls Trailhead, which is near the top of your map, you can park there and go past the San Antonio Falls and then up the service road. Or you can save a little time by driving to the end of Mount Baldy Road and walking through the ski lift parking lot and up a shortcut to get to the service road to go the rest of the way to the Notch restaurant. So Thunder Mountain's 8,587 feet high. Telegraph at 8,989 is the tallest of the 7 peaks in the Cucamonga Wilderness. Here we are on top of Thunder Mountain, 9-mile round trip with 2,400 feet elevation gain. Behind us, you can see Mount Baldy and the famous Baldy Bowl. This is obviously in the summer. There's no snow there. And it's really not, it's a strenuous hike, but not very strenuous. You have to be in good shape, but you don't have to be a mountaineer to do it. And the trail is not rocky. It's a service road that is well maintained. So it's easy on the ankles and knees. uh, where, rocky trails are hard on your legs. But this is a steady incline, not real steep. Unless you take the shortcut, it's very steep at the beginning of the shortcut. So here's another picture. So the Thunder Mountain ski lift takes you to the top of Thunder Mountain, and then you ski down. It's one of the steepest, I think. I'm not a skier, but there's the Baldy Bowl in Mount Baldy, and you can see the chairs. Now, on the way up on that service road to the Notch restaurant in the month of July is the most amazing bloom of flowers anywhere in the San Gabriels, as far as I'm concerned. The blazing star is just a gorgeous, gorgeous flower, and you will see hundreds of these on the way up to Thunder Mountain. And notice the ground. This is July. It hasn't rained. It's really, really dry. It's rocky, and yet somehow these flowers bloom in the middle of summer. They must have fairly deep roots. I think it's a 2-year cycle. The plant germinates and grows a little bit one year, and then the second year, the root really goes down deep, and that's when it blooms and produces more seed. So on the way up to Thunder Mountain, you get to this spot where the road takes a fork. If you go to the left, you'll go to the beginning of the Three T's Trail, and it says, "Welcome to the Cucamonga Wilderness." So Thunder Mountain is right on the border of the Cucamonga Wilderness. Officially, I don't know whether the peak is actually in the wilderness, but certainly one whole side of the mountain is in the Cucamonga Wilderness. So I count it as one of the 7 peaks of the Cucamonga Wilderness. Notice there's snow here. So this was done in spring. And in spring and sometimes early summer, you see snow plants. They are very bright red. In this case, coming out of very dry looking ground. Sometimes you'll see them coming out of snow, which is why they're called snow plants. Very pretty. Okay, now we have a view of Mount Baldy from the top of Telegraph Peak. If you go past Thunder Mountain to that Three T's trailhead that takes you into the Cucamonga Wilderness, the next peak you come to, you have to go down off of Thunder Mountain and then back up to Telegraph, which is the highest peak in the Cucamonga Wilderness. It's 11 miles round trip, 2,800 feet elevation gain. It's a very pointy peak. Here you can see Baldy Bowl in the background. This is obviously summer. It's dry, no snow. Great views, just absolutely great views. Probably 270 degrees around. Very sharp drop off. You don't want to get too close to the edge. And here we have a very happy hiker, and he completed his 7th hike. He hiked all 7 peaks in the Cucamonga Wilderness, so he was given a patch. And you can see on the right side, kind of below middle, you can see some water. That's the Baldy Ski Resort reservoir of water that they have. They pump out of that to make snow in the winter. And here we have 2 more happy hikers receiving their patches for completing the 7 peaks of the Cucamonga Wilderness. So oh, by the way, that number is wrong. This one, 8,989, is the correct altitude. This one is way off. It's too low. The 7 peaks consist of Thunder, which I already showed you, Telegraph, which is here, Timber, which is the 3rd T in the 3 T's, and then Bighorn Peak, Ontario Peak, Cucamonga Peak, and Etowanda Peak. Those are the 7 peaks. And the way the patch program works, you have to go on a Los Serranos-led Sierra Club hike. There's no time limit. Some people complete all 7 peaks in one season. Some people, it may take them 3 or 4 years. There's no time limit. And it's quite an accomplishment. Here is a different view from the top of Telegraph, looking at the valley below. Okay, so this map shows the southwestern section of the Cucamonga Wilderness, which includes 5 peaks: Ontario Peak, Cucamonga Peak, Etowanda Peak, Bighorn Peak, and Timber Mountain. And so I showed you two. These 5 will make up the 7. And if you look at the upper left-hand corner is the Icehouse Canyon trailhead. It goes to the Icehouse Saddle, which is 3.6 miles, and it's about 2,600 feet elevation gain. And Icehouse Saddle is a major hub. There are 5 trails that converge at the Icehouse Saddle. And the only one that shows here is the one that goes to Cucamonga Peak. But there is one that goes to Timber Mountain. It doesn't really show the trail, but so there's the trail up from the Icehouse Canyon parking lot. There's the Cucamonga Peak Trail. There's the Timber Mountain Trail. There's the Ontario Peak Trail, which takes you to Ontario and Bighorn. Oh, and Cucamonga takes you to Cucamonga and Etowanda. And then there's the Middle Fork Trail that takes you down to Lytle Creek, which I showed you at the beginning. So the elevations are shown here. Ontario Peak, 8,696. Cucamonga, 8,862. Etowanda, 8,662. Bighorn, 8,441. And Timber, 8,303 is the shortest and the lowest altitude of all the 7 peaks. Now, on the way, certain times of the year, you will see some poppies, prickly poppies in Icehouse Canyon here. They're next to a water line to the cabins in the canyon. There are cabins. I don't have great pictures here. I didn't have time to add that to show you the cabins in Icehouse Canyon. But some people, I don't think anybody lives there full time. They're like a vacation cabin. The first mile of the hike up Icehouse Canyon is along the stream that runs down the canyon all year except during drought years. The trees are beautiful in the fall when the leaves turn yellow and red. And it provides you some shade, which isn't real necessary in the morning if you start real early, but in the afternoon, it's really nice to have that shade. And of course, the trees are most beautiful in fall, in autumn. That's when the leaves turn colors. Not the scrub oaks, but the others do. And of course, the pines don't. But it's really pretty in the fall to do this hike. And you're hiking alongside of a rather large stream that flows all year round except in very severe drought years. And I love the sound of the stream. There is one place where the water oozes out of the side of the canyon. There are a lot of columbine flowers in the early summer. I did not get a good photo. It's kind of out of focus. Sorry, I couldn't find a better focus of this, but there's a lot of columbines blooming in this one spot. There are a lot of cabins that were destroyed either by fire or flood, but the stone foundations, part of it at least, are still there. Kind of fun to explore around. All the stone cabins were built by Bobby Chapman's father. I don't know. He might have been Bobby Sr. I don't remember. Anyway, I knew Bobby Chapman, who died about 15 years ago. He helped his dad build some of the cabins. So 1.8 miles up, you come to the beginning of the wilderness. And there's a sign that welcomes you to the Cucamonga Wilderness. It states the rules: no bicycles, no motorized equipment. Um, One thing it says, don't wear bright colors. Uh, I do wear bright colors because if you get lost or injured, you want to have bright colors so you can be found. Not only that, but hunting is allowed in wilderness areas, believe it or not. And so during hunting season, you definitely want to wear bright colors. Here's a beautiful little bush of poppy flowers. And in this area, I don't have a picture of it, but for the first time, I saw a blazing star in Ice House Canyon. In the early spring, on a good snow year, there is a lot of water from snowmelt, and several temporary waterfalls appear in Ice House Canyon. This is the biggest one. Here we are. We just left the Three T's Trail, and we're doing the 1 mile hike up to the top of Timber Mountain. Here we are, a view of Mount Baldy. In the spring, obviously, there's a little snow still on Timber. There's still snow on Baldy. Um, this spring, there's not going to be that snow because of this heat wave we've had. Has melted everything on the south side. But Timber Mountain is a 9 mile round trip hike with 3,300 feet elevation gain. Not the greatest views, a nice view of Baldy, but there are trees on top of Timber Mountain, so that obstructs your view somewhat. Now, on the way, if you start early, you might see bighorn sheep. In 2012, just below the Ice House Saddle, my group was the first group up the canyon. We started at 5:30 or 6 a.m. This is in the summer. And there was a herd of Nelson bighorn sheep. As we approached, we heard them digging and stirring up dust. We stopped when we saw them. At first, we didn't know what was causing the dust and the sound, but then we saw the bighorn sheep, and we watched from about 60 feet away. I zoomed in with my camera. They're all rams. Big, strong rams. Now, the one on the left is digging. The one on the right is looking at us. There's the dust from the digging. And what I figured out is they're digging for things to eat. And I don't think they eat grubs. Plus, I'm not sure there'd be any grubs up there anyway. The soil's not fertile enough, but they are probably eating tubers or roots or something that's underground. I had an even better encounter with two sheep, and I didn't have my camera on the side of Bighorn Peak, and they were even closer. I was only about 20 feet away. One of them left when we came, but the other one, great big, huge ram, he continued to dig and put his head down and come up munching on something. And finally, they left, which is good because we needed to go on with our hike. Now, from the Ice House Saddle, if you go towards Kelly's Camp, that will take you to Bighorn Peak and Ontario Peak. And after you pass through Kelly's Camp and head up the steep slope to the Ontario Peak Ridge, you go through a whole bunch of wild currant bushes. And this is in the month of November. I've been early November. I've been late November, December. The berries are all drying up then. Nobody eats them, but I do, and they taste really good. Here's not zoomed in as much. See, the leaves are turning yellow. It's autumn, and normally you would think the birds would have stripped these currant bushes of their berries, but there just aren't very many birds up there. Now, on the way, actually, this should have come before the currant bushes. On the way to Kelly's Camp, you get some beautiful views from that trail between the Ice House Saddle and Kelly's Camp. And this one has a beautiful view of Mount Baldy and the Baldy Bowl. So when you get up to the Ontario Ridge, if you turn left, you go to Bighorn Peak. If you turn right, you go to Ontario Peak. Sometimes there's a sign, usually not. So you need to know where you're going. And this is the side of, for a while you go on a ridge, on the ridge, and then you come down off the ridge, and then you have to go up the side of Bighorn Peak. And this is the south side of Bighorn Peak. And here we are on top of Bighorn Peak. Nice view of Mount Baldy from Bighorn Peak. Uh, Great view. Some happy hikers there. So it's an 11-mile round trip with 3,440 feet elevation gain. And here's a happy hiker receiving his patch for completing all 7 peaks of the Cucamonga Wilderness. And I believe this is another photo from the peak without people in the way. Okay, so coming up from Kelly's Camp, I said you go left, you go to Bighorn Peak. If you go right, you go to Ontario Peak, and you just follow the ridge line. There are several false peaks you have to go past, and you eventually get up to Ontario Peak. Here we have a picture of Mount Baldy in the background. You also have some fairly good views of the valley, and it's a 12.8-mile round trip hike with 3,700 feet elevation gain. Now, out of Icehouse Saddle, I remember I said there's 5 trails. The trail that takes you to Cucamonga and Etiwanda Peaks is separate from the trail that takes you to Ontario and Bighorn. So to go to the top of Cucamonga Peak is a 12.2-mile round trip with 3,860 elevation gain. Here I am standing on top of a rock with San Gorgonio in the background on the left. I'm kind of blocking the view of San Jacinto. It's right behind me. It's a very strenuous hike, very, very rocky, which makes it harder. This is another place, not quite the actual peak, but a nice view of the valley. And another view. You can take lots of pictures from Cucamonga Peak because it is gorgeous and great, great views. Okay, if you go past Cucamonga Peak, and there's no sign telling you that, you can go to Etiwanda Peak. And it's not quite as high, but you have to come down off of Cucamonga Peak and then go back up. So it's the longest of the 7 peak hikes, 14.5-mile round trip hike, 3,360 feet from the trailhead. But you have several places where you lose elevation and have to regain it. So it's a really tough hike. Great views, not very clear this day. Here I am, along with Mark. We both got patches that day doing Etiwanda Peak. And then one last thing. On top of Etiwanda Peak, there was a little notebook where people signed their names. And I had seen one of these on top of Telegraph Peak with a name of Mars Bonfire. And it said 25th and final time. And I went back there a couple weeks later and I was going to show someone because I did research and I found out Mars Bonfire is famous for 2 things. One, he was a rock musician. He was part of the group called Steppenwolf, and he wrote the song Born to Be Wild and got lots and lots of royalties from that because that song is used in commercials and movies a lot. And so he kind of retired from the rock music business and joined the Sierra Club and the 100 Peaks section in the Angeles chapter. And he hiked all 272 peaks on the 100 peaks list of peaks over 5,000 feet. He hiked all 272 of them 25 times each. So when I went to Etowanda and I saw uh, the one that was on Telegraph, when I went back to show someone, it was gone. Somebody had taken it. So I took pictures. And here's the one that shows Mars bonfire 25 times final visit. And I took a bunch of others because there were a whole bunch, because not as many people go to Etowanda Peak. There is a map at the Ice House Saddle. It does not have Etowanda Peak on the map. So you've got to know where you're going. There's no signs on how to get there. Go with an experienced hiker, a Sierra Club hiker that knows what he or she is doing. And that, let's see if I can do this. Stop share is what I want. Ah,
Okay, John, it looks like we had some questions.
okay, good. Relay them to me.
Yeah, so people are fascinated about the waterfall, the unnamed waterfall.
Yeah.
And I know Christine Torres mentioned that it's kind of a good thing that it's not named because otherwise it would be all trashed and graffitied like the Bonita Falls. So, and also you said, I believe there's a little bit of a hike in there, so it's a little
Well,
harder to get to.
it's a much harder hike. Bonita Falls is very short. It's only like 1 mile. And
Hmm.
yeah, the other falls is a longer, harder hike. Plus, it's a 4 mile drive on a dirt road to get to the
Okay.
trailhead.
Yeah. So, and also Moises wanted to know how deep the waterfall was. I don't know if it meant how tall it was or how deep the pool was, but do you have any idea of that kind
Well,
of stuff?
Moises knows about the pool of water at the base of Bonita because he went dipping in it when I went with him one time. And it's about the same depth as the Bonita Falls pool, which is just 2 or 3 feet maybe. Um, and unlike Bonita, which is a 90-foot drop in one fell swoop, this unnamed falls has 3 steps down. The last one is only about, I don't know, 20, 25 feet, but there are 3 different drops in the falls.
Okay. And I noticed you're still sharing your screen. We're kind of seeing your desktop there. I don't know if you wanted to still
Oh,
share it.
uh,
Um, but
there we go.
somebody, John, wanted to know about the permit process, and I'm not sure, John, maybe you can let us know permit
Oh, yeah, yeah.
process for which area or just in
Yeah.
general the Cucamonga Wilderness.
So, yeah, I didn't mention that. I did mention that they're required. Um, the San Bernardino National Forest requires permits. And at the Ice House trailhead, there is a metal box with permits, and you self permit. However, there are so many people, and I didn't talk about this. The Ice House Canyon trailhead in the summer, on the weekends, if you don't get there by 6 a.m., you don't get a parking place. And the parking lot holds 40 to 50 cars. And if you get there after 7, you may have a half-mile walk from where you park your car on Mount Baldy Road just to get to the trailhead. So it's heavily used, and therefore the box empties out. So what I did, I don't hike on weekends, but I went during the week when it was well stocked, and I took one home with me, and I made copies. So I always have copies of the permit with me. And so if the box is empty, I fill out a permit anyway. That's one way around that. Now, if you go in from the Lytle Creek side, the Middle Fork Trail, you can get the permits online. And you go to the San Gorgonio Wilderness Association, and through them, you can get the permit to hike to up Middle Fork Trail to Cucamonga Peak or Timber Mountain or, Ontario Peak, any of those that are in the San Bernardino National Forest. And then there's no permits, nobody checks going up through the Baldy Ski Resort to Thunder. or telegraph. I actually was stopped once and asked to show a permit, which I had, luckily.
Oh
Um,
wow, I'm surprised. Who stopped you for the permit? Was it like volunteers or was it?
so this was probably 25 years ago, and there was a volunteer at that time that was patrolling the trails. I have not seen any volunteers in a long time. And part
Wow.
of the reason is in Baldy Village, there's a visitor center, and there was a ranger there, and he would sort of coordinate the volunteers. Well, thanks to cost cutting, there is no ranger at that Baldy Visitor Center. It's just all volunteer and obviously not as efficiently run. I mean, you just can't expect volunteers to do the job of a full-time ranger.
Yeah. So we had Danny said, great presentation. He's looking forward to your return so that he can join you on your hikes.
So am I.
Yeah, Christina said thank you. Great presentation. Loves your photos, by the way. And then Sean, thank you, Sean, for posting the link to the permits to the Cucamonga Wilderness. It's with the San Gorgonio Wilderness Association. I
Yep.
actually just pulled a permit. I went online and pulled a permit for Fish Creek that I'm going to be doing on Monday. Not for the Sierra Club. I'm doing it for a college thing, but I thought that was really interesting. I saw that nobody gets permits because I didn't see like they have 30 per day, I guess they can you can take out and all 30 were available on like for the whole entire week and weekend and next week. So there may be a lot of people that don't realize that they have to get wilder permits for the wilderness areas.
Well, one thing that's different, the San Gorgonio wilderness area does have quotas. I mean, they only issue a certain number of permits. Cucamonga Wilderness has no quota. That's why Icehouse Canyon's so overrun with people. I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of people hike up that canyon on the weekends.
So Gary's said good job and he's hoping to see you on the trail.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Gary. Um, and I think that's it. I think that's all we've got there, John. So thank you
Okay,
so much.
good. It was
Wonderful
fun to do it.
presentation.
Fun to look at the photos and remind me of all the great times I've had hiking in the Cucamonga Wilderness.
Yes, and thank you everybody for being here and joining us on this great adventure through the Cucamonga Wilderness.
Did you happen to notice the participants, what the high number was? I see there's 13 now.
No, I got 13 now, but are we
Yeah, I'm gonna
stopping the
stop.
video?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the
There
recording.
were 18, John.
There were
So
18.
Norm says 18.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Norm.